Hello and welcome to the channel where tonight I'm going to be looking ahead at the big match tomorrow. We're back with the Glasgow Derby for the first time in almost a year. Obviously with COVID things have been kind of put on hold a lot with the Scottish game. So the last time that the sides played, I believe, was just before Christmas just after Christmas, sorry, last year. Rangers won at Celtic Park, so that left the league title quite close at the time. But then Rangers, for sort of the second time in 2 years, they went away on these mid-season breaks that they had in Scotland and come back and completely lost their form. And in the end, Celtic quite comfortably cruised the league. I think they were 13 points clear at the time whenever the league was stopped, and Rangers had been in a horrible run of form. So obviously after the break, then we're now back. The two teams are sitting first and second in the league, somewhat unsurprisingly, really. So obviously, as a Celtic fan, this is going to be from sort of the Celtic perspective. This video. So I just thought I would sort of have a wee look at what what sort of team may expect, and how some aspects of the game might go tomorrow. So recently Celtic have been playing 3-5-2. This has kind of been the formation that they played since they lost that game against Rangers last season. Whenever they come back from the international break, they changed it, and the form between Odsonne Edouard and Lee Griffiths at the time, the two up front, they linked really well together and performed, well enough that scored the goals that had Celtic, on a great run after the mid-season break, and that saw them cruise to their ninth title in a row. Since they've come back this season, the form hasn't been as good. They kind of started off at the time they didn't really have the centre backs to play the back three, but then they've kind of gradually moved towards it. So we'll have a look anyway through the team. Obviously, there's a few injuries and stuff as well, so we'll talk through what options Neil Lennon has and what he needs to be thinking about tomorrow. So it's easy enough. I think they will probably pick 3-5-2. I hope he does. I think, certainly the last couple of times, some of the issues that Celtic have seemed to have was a lot of the time they were playing and the striker looked isolated against Rangers, where they were almost had like a square of players around the striker, where you've got a centre back right up and behind them, whatever one of the two centre backs was right in behind, and then they had kind of two midfielders right in front. So anytime the Celtic were playing balls into the striker wasn't really getting anywhere near them, and they were quickly crowded out. So the two up front obviously occupies a bit more, gives the striker a bit of support in terms of link up play and someone to look to whenever they're there. So I do hope that they stick with that and give obviously the Rangers defenders a bit more to think about. So in goal, obviously it's going to be Barkas, the Greek. Happy enough. There's not really any other option. He's come in. He's done reasonably well. He hasn't really had what you would call a breakout game where he's really performed brilliantly, and certainly Forster that was there last year had more than a few of those. But so far he's generally done okay, so I'm happy enough. Two of the back three will be Shane Duffy and Christopher Ayer. Again, two big lads. Both good in the air. Duffy sort of come in. One thing that Celtic could have been accused of maybe earlier in the season was that they had a couple of big centre backs, but no real they were tall, but maybe not strong enough. Whereas Duffy has come in and changed that a bit, and he's a real threat at the other end of the pitch. The two Israelis would either been maybe Nir Baton or Al Hamad might have played in the back three, but they've both failed come up positive, with coronavirus. So whenever they were on international duty, so they're not going to be there. The obvious choice would be Christopher Julian, but there's some rumours tonight that he's out as well. I don't know whether that's just purely internet rumours or there's something genuinely in that. But the talk at the minute is that Julian's not going to be available, and it's going to be young Stephen Walsh that's going to play. I'm just going to have a look. I know he's played in a few games for us this season, but I'm not sure if he's played in the league. I don't think he has played any minutes in the league. I think he definitely got some time in some time in pre-season. He's a young centre back, so it's quite a game to throw him into there. But well, if you want to play for Celtic, this is as big as it gets. So certainly domestically, and we'll see how it goes. Obviously, if Julian's fit, I would expect him to start, but the rumours are that he's got some sort of a back problem. And he has been carrying this problem for a wee while, and that Walsh looks likely to start. So we'll see how that goes. But it looks like it's going to be one or the other. So obviously with the back three, then you've got wing backs. Personally, I think wing backs in this kind of a game is quite important. It's quite something that I think will be interesting to see, because in the last couple of games, Rangers fullbacks are very attacking. You've got Tavernier in the right, and you've got Barisic in the left, and they both like to get forward. Certainly, Barisic caused Celtic a few problems in in one of the games last year. He's quite a decent Croatian left back, and whenever he was getting forward, he was causing trouble. So to me, one of the ways to counter a dangerous fullback is to pin him back. And if Celtic are playing, if you're going to be battling out in these wings, Rangers themselves generally play quite narrow, with more two kind of number 10s rather than two out-and-out wingers. So the battle's going to be on the wing, is going to essentially be one-on-ones probably. So certainly on the right wing, I expect Celtic should 100% should go with Frimpong. I know Forrest's out anyway, so it looks likely that it will be Frimpong, and for me, he's the man to take on Barisic and hopefully try to pin him back. To me, Frimpong's probably the Celtic player that has the highest ceiling. He's still a young guy. Like, I'm not even sure what age. Just double check what age he is. I think, is he even at 20 yet? No, he's still 19. So yeah, he's still young. He's a brilliant player. He's so fast, and at 19 he's still learning. So I think he's a real threat, and definitely was the man to start in the right. On the left, it's a difficult call. Greg Taylor's been the man that's had the shirt, and a lot of the Celtic fans aren't very happy with him. Don't think he's good enough. Defensively, he's quite good, but going forward, he's not the best. And if you're going to be playing wing backs and you want to push the fullbacks back for Rangers, you want somebody that's attacking. So there's an opportunity here possibly for the new signing Diego Laxalt. Uruguayan international has come in on loan. There's an opportunity to start him. That all purely depend on what Neil Lennon's seen of him over the last couple of weeks. I don't think he was on international duty. I know I did see some photos like last week or something of him training at Celtic Park. So I don't think he was with the Uruguay team this time, and he's probably been training there for the last couple of weeks. So it'll depend basically what's went on in the training ground, and if Neil Lennon's been able to get him up to speed enough. John Kennedy and the rest of the background staff have got him up to speed. If they have, go with him, fire him in, why not? But there's also the possibility, another way of looking at it is with young Welsh possibly in the background. You might not want to upset things too much in there. So it'll be a tough call. Personally, I would maybe go with a new guy. Taylor's, he's okay, and he's, in my opinion, he's been improving over the last couple of games. He was getting a lot of stick, and the last couple of games he played okay. He was away with Scotland there, and they won a lot of games. So I would say that confidence is bound to be good with him. So he might be fine. But personally, I would probably go with the new guy. Although I don't think Neil Lennon will. In midfield, you're 100% going with Scott Brown and Colin McGregor as two of the three. Again, Celtic fans, neither of the two of them have maybe hit the heights that they could have so far this season, but there's no doubt that they're going to be the players that's going to play. It's something that they're Neil Lennon's not going to change that for such a big game, and he would get a lot of stick if he did anyway. So it will be Brown, it will be McGregor. The third midfielder is where the debate starts. You're possibly, I think most likely, it's going to be Olivier Ntcham. Christie probably would have played, but there's been some issues with coronavirus. I don't think he failed the test as such, but I think Stuart Armstrong failed the test with Scotland, and Christie was someone that was close to him or something at the time. And I seen Neil Lennon says today that he's come back negative in 2 coronavirus tests over the last couple of days. But whatever way the rules and the authorities are, they don't think he's going to be allowed to play. So it looks unlikely that Christie's going to be there, and Ntcham will get the nod. The other options are probably like Turnbull and Tom Rogic. Rogic is constantly injured and stuff anyway. Although on his day, he's had some great days against Rangers, which would probably mean that if he is fit, he would probably be the best option. But I think Lennon will go in Ntcham, and Ntcham's kind of one of these guys who, if he decides to turn up, he can easily be the best player in the league. But there's a wee bit too much, flinging his arms in the air and looking around to see what's going on around him for my personal liking. And but I think Lennon seems to like him. Lennon trusts him, so I think he'll probably get the nod. Which wouldn't be my choice, but we'll see what happens. Up front, the 2 strikers. Now Celtic have played 2 up front a few times this season now, and I don't think there's ever been a stage where they've actually played 2 strikers. Apart from maybe after a couple of subs have been made, there always seems to be one striker, and either El Younousi or Christie. Christie obviously is rolled out, so he's not going to be there. And then all the other strikers kind of have question marks about them. So it's kind of I almost think pretty sure that El Younousi will start plus one other. Whereas personally, I would go away 2 of the other 4. But I just don't think Neil Lennon will do that. So the 4 strikers that he could start are Odsonne Edouard, who was positive for coronavirus. But I think it was right at the beginning of the international break. So I think, based on rules and such, he was back in training at Celtic today. So depending on how fit he is, I imagine he's not going to be fit enough to start. I can't imagine with the virus that he trained over the last couple of weeks. So I would say he's probably not fit enough. You've got Albion Aye, who's been brilliant. To be fair, since he's come to Celtic, he's been really good. League form. Let me just have a look at his goals in the league. How many has he got in the league so far? 5 league goals, and that's coming in 238 minutes. So that's like 2.5 games, basically. Five league goals and an assist in 2.5 games. He looks like a great player, but the problem was in the sort of at the end there of the second last game, I think, before the break. He got injured and he's been out for a few weeks. So I know he is back training the last couple of days, but how fit is he? He at the time, whenever he got injured, he was kind of working his way up to fitness. So he wasn't fully fit, got injured, and is back in training. So I suspect he's probably not, got 90 minutes in the legs. You've got Lee Griffiths. Griffiths obviously come on in the last game. I think it was at St Johnstone, wasn't it? And scored the header, which put us 1-0 up. And then obviously Klimala scored the second a few minutes later. But it was a very late goal and got the winner. But Griffiths has been out for a long time. and played, a few minutes obviously at the end of that game, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it was. But again, he doesn't look like he's got the fitness. And then you've got Patrick Klimala, young Polish guy, who, to be fair, like he looks like a decent player. He's certainly got the work rate. He's put a lot of effort in. You can see, like it's very, like, even his body shape has changed a lot during the summer, and he's come back a lot leaner, a lot stronger, a lot fairer, quick. He looks like a decent player, but he doesn't look like he's got the full trust in Neil Lennon. He seems to be kind of, so at the minute, I would suggest that he is very much sort of third, fourth choice. So I don't know whether Lennon will trust him to start or not. Probably not. But as I say, I think El Yunusi will start. I honestly don't know who's next. I think it purely comes down to fitness and fitness tests to see who's going to be the next guy in line. But we'll find that out in the morning. We're like 14 hours away from kickoff, so we'll have a sleep tonight, and then we'll get up early in the morning and get whatever needs to be done and watch the game. But obviously, with it being the first game of the season, obviously all these games, the leagues are going to be massively affected by what happens in these derbies, just because they're so dominant in the league. At the minute, Rangers are a point ahead. I think it's 1 point. Yeah, it's one. They have 8 wins and 2 draws, and Celtic have 8 wins and a draw. Yeah, Rangers are 1 point ahead, but Celtic have a game in hand. So, worst result for Celtic tomorrow is they fall a wee bit, fall 4 behind, but game in hand. Or best result, you go two ahead with a game in hand. But ultimately, even then you're potentially 5 points clear, but you've still got like 3/4 of a season, including 3 games against each other. So there's still a long way to go, no matter what happens. Like, I think I would have felt a bit more concerned about what happens tomorrow if that St Johnstone game just before the break had finished 0-0, which for nearly 90 minutes it looked like it was until Griffiths got the late goal and then Klimala added the second. But these games will have an impact on what happens if Celtic get him in a row or not. But ultimately, with it being the first one, there's plenty of room for manoeuvre. And at this time of the season, certainly over the last couple of years, Celtic haven't been at their best. And then I've kind of grown into the season and come back after Christmas and just hit title winning form, run off 8, 9, 10 wins in a row, and which has tended to do the job for them. So we'll not get ourselves in a twist about what happens tomorrow. Hopefully it works out well for Celtic, but obviously it's a unique game. These games are always, you can look at league tables, you can look at form, you can look at whatever. It's a derby, and anything can happen in these games. And particularly, you're throwing the unknown in where there's no fans, which is going to be very strange. Like the derbies, it's known worldwide, and it's probably, like, if we're being brutally honest, it's probably not because of the standard of the football. Like the Scottish leagues, obviously, it is what it is. But it has got 2 massive clubs there in Celtic and Rangers, and whenever they go head to head, and the passion of the fans and what it means to them, it always adds to the occasion. Just quickly, before I go, just to touch on Rangers. So, like, they've obviously been playing quite well. It's quite, their main top goal scorer is James Tavernier. He's got 5 goals, and I would imagine probably maybe 4 or maybe even all of them are penalties. Which will not get paranoid. We'll not start that. Obviously, Ryan Kent looks like he's been, in good form. 4 goals and an assist. Morelos, 3 goals and an assist. Scott Arfield, 2 goals and 3 assists. Hadji, a goal and 5 assists. Personally, I kind of think, I'm looking at the sort of attacking players. Rangers have kind of played 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 most of this season. I think it'd be, like, if I was Steven Gerrard, I think I would be putting as many like the likes of Kent, the likes of Hadji in the game as much as I could, because I think, like, Celtic's defence is all big guys. They're all big, strong guys, and if Rangers find themselves hitting them sort of players on the counter attack with pace, they it's going to cause Celtic problems. But it's the same at the other end. Like Rangers defense is kind of like it's probably going to be Goldson and let me see who's been playing. Goldson and I think it's Helander who's usually been there. They're probably the most likely centre backs, presuming everyone's fit. And again, like they're certainly players that Celtic can get at. So I think it'll be an interesting game. The change in formation, obviously, since the last time Celtic, they changed the formation to 3-5-2, and they never got to play Rangers again. They had 2 more goals. They're supposed to play 2 more matches at the end of last season, and never got to play them because of the virus. So we never got to see, how the 3-5-2 certainly changed Celtic's season last year, and we never got to see how Rangers would cope with that. So it'll be interesting to see if that's what it is tomorrow, and how that affects what's been the balance in the last couple of games. But for now, I think that'll be all for now. Obviously, the game is 12:30 tomorrow, Parkhead time, Glasgow time. So, I'm sure you can do the maths and work that out for whatever wherever you are in the world. But until then, hail, and hopefully for the Celtic fans watching that it goes our way, and hopefully I'll be doing a celebration video tomorrow night. So hail, and thanks for watching.